We got the lore of Hytale. We got a new blog post that was supposed to come out on the weekend, but Simon said, okay, we're just gonna post it on a Thursday. Okay, hi everyone, I'm Joe, holder of the keys to the Hytale's lore vault, and I'm gonna take a few minutes to talk about our approach to narrative and lore, as well as try to set or reset some expectations around it. Before we get stuck in, there's one thing I wanna get out of the way to avoid disappointment. This blog post will not contain any new specifics about the lore itself. There will be no grand secrets or surprises divulged here. That part I'll leave to the game itself. Now, one thing that I've already heard about this blog post is that it confirms or denies some things. So we know that certain characters, I'm not gonna say who yet, are back in the game, and we can kind of get an idea of what the direction for the lore is going to be like, especially with concept arts such as the Klops here. So when we announced the game 7 years ago, we released an unusually high amount of concept art for a game still in development. If you followed the YouTube path in 2018, 2019, and so on, you know those concept arts got used up. Oh my God. Every person broke down every single pixel on those concept arts and made 10 million theories about them. We did so with clear disclaimers that this was all work in progress and that it wasn't a promise the contents would make it into the game. A disclaimer we still feature prominently on our media page. Much of that concept art included ideas and inspirations that were already outdated by the time they were released. Some of those ideas were only that, inspirations that weren't necessarily intended to become actual canon within the lore. Over the years that followed, more and more of that concept art became gradually less accurate, to the point where entire sheets were dropped and their contents were either removed or no longer planned for implementation. Such is the inevitable nature of the concept art. And you just put the Klops hidey hole. So I guess you're implying that the Klops hidey hole is not relevant. It just doesn't exist anymore. That's what I'm getting from this. So we're gonna revisit Hytale's lore. Since the reacquisition, many of these changes have been rolled back or reincorporated in a different way. Hytale evolved and changed dramatically over the years as the vision shifted, lore being no exception. The narrative went through multiple drafts, many of which weren't entirely compatible with each other. Entire factions were dropped or drastically changed. The Fawns, ladies and gentlemen, the Fawns was in one concept art, a single concept art, and I hold on to that concept art, and we knew that the Fawns were gone. We made an entire Hytale podcast about it, and it became one of the most viewed Hytale podcasts. Remember what they took from you. Fawns, 2018 to 2024 was when we found out that they were gone, but I guess they were gone in 2018 already. We need to riot to get the Fawns back into the game. As a concept artist myself, 90% of the work doesn't get used. Yeah, I mean, that's why the term is called concept art, but I guess when you don't have any information from the devs and you just have the concept arts, you kind of take those concept arts more as reality. Rest in peace, Fawns. We're not going to let them rest in peace. We're going to make them rise from the ground. The Fawn DLC will make waves. We made the conscious decision to return to an earlier draft, one that's far more compatible with the engine we're shipping with and the vision we have for the game as a whole. As a result, many aspects of the lore, most of which were never publicly revealed, have changed. Some of these changes we'll keep in reserve with the potential to return them later, but for now they're not a part of our canon and there's possibility that they never may be. At the same time, we're working to reconcile the new and old where we can and where it makes sense to do so. For example, when the revisited Scarix were shown, the change was divisive. Today, we like both the old and new designs. If you didn't know, what the new Scarix designs gave us the baby Scarix, and I absolutely fell in love with this. I need a plushie made of this, and if they're not going to release an official plushie, I will make one custom made. It is the logo of our Discord server, and it is our baby. It is also found, where is the bug video? This is the bug report, the official bug report icon in Hytale. You'll see this every single time you press escape, and it's our baby little Scarix. So hoping that this baby makes it into the game. Today, we like both the old and new designs, but with the timeline we're shipping and the fact that the new designs aren't usable in game, we can't exactly throw out the old ones anymore, nor do we want to. From these constraints and necessities comes a means of bringing both into the lore and making them work. No spoilers on how though, you'll learn about that eventually, and I think we can probably theorize that the new Scarix are going to be more of an alien race, because everyone saw when they came out, they looked a little more alien than the bugs. The first Scarix give more of that bug vibe, and the other ones looked like they came from a different planet. Maybe they're mutated Scarix. We'll see how they actually incorporate that. So that'll be an update, and we'll see the baby Scarix come into the game as well. The draft also retains many of the major aspects of the lore the community has come to love over the years. Characters such as Gaia and Varen are still very much a part of our canon, and Tessa and Kairos are coming back as well. They're coming back. They left? We didn't know this. Wait, they deleted Tessa and Kairos? What? They're just dropping a bombshell that we didn't even know about. Okay, so apparently the Riot acquisition just took Tessa and Kairos, and if you didn't know who they are, they're on screen right now. They're the only two human, well, we don't know if Kairos is human, but we assume the only two human characters that we've ever met is Tessa and Kairos, and some of the most OG and some of the most loved theories come from Tessa and Kairos. Some people saying Tessa is Kairos, some people saying Kairos is corrupted Tessa. We don't know. We don't know what they decide to do with it, but they're back now, but they were taken from us, interestingly enough. We also intend to revisit the concept of the Ultraverses. That's also one of the most important things that I think everyone, even as a casual Hytale fan, might have heard about, is the new Hytale tweet. We're getting live Hytale tweets. What do you mean? New Hytale tweet. 5 days. Hold on. Hold on. Wake up, babe. Oh my God, that's me. No, it's not. This looks nothing like me. What is this image? This is Taekwondo. This is Kung Fu Karate. Can I be really honest? The terrain generation kind of looks like ass here. We need that V2. I can't lie. The terrain generation looks a little ass, but it's fine. Early access. Early access is V1. We can't complain. We also intend to revisit the concept of the Ultraverses as we value the opportunities it offers for long-term content and connect it to the overarching narratives. I think with this text, they're telling us that the Ultraverses were also scrapped and it wasn't even part of the lore. So Nexus, Numdrazzle, the two more important ones. One is like Varen's world and the other one is like Gaia's temple. That's her planet. I guess they were gone. So I'm glad to know that the Ultraverses are back. Maybe not all the planets, because some of them were really uninteresting. Like, I don't think anyone really cares about Karpak. Hot take maybe. But Torballen, and the official pronunciation needs to be Torballen. I saw in my last video, so one of the comments said that apparently officially it was pronounced Torballen. Who the fuck is saying Torballen? It's Torballen. And anyone who says otherwise, including the devs, Simon, is just wrong. I'm sorry. Overall, this reflects our general philosophy and approach to lore, to build a cohesive framework that leaves enough room to explore the ideas that generate excitement, both within the team and across the community. It's crucial to us that we maintain a consistent and coherent narrative while also allowing experimentation and interpretation. This is oh my God. Oh my God. Whoa. Wait, I need this. I need this as a card. I need this as a poster. Apparently, Connor, Quebec Corner, got this as a poster and never told us. He has this poster hanging on his wall right now. Phone background? Dude, this would be a sick phone background. Hold up, wait. All right, let's get into the philosophy. Lore should not be a strict set of rules that everyone on the team is required to follow when designing content. It should be an inspiration that fuels creativity and allows experimentation, but also a set of guardrails to ensure we don't get too far off track, that everything remains consistent. We do have a set of canon foundations that are unlikely to change, but everything above them is kept flexible enough to change if needed. That's not to say that Hytale's lore is some throwaway thing into which we put very little thought into. Dude, this is like the opposite. I don't know if they're going to talk about it in this, but they have literally like a 600-page book about the Hytale lore. They had like 200 pages after before the acquisition, and then after the acquisition, I think John Hendricks mentioned like in 2023 or 2024 that it like doubled or quadrupled in size. So there is a lot of lore, and I think that's what they meant of like there's too much lore with new and old, and they have to figure out which parts of it are going to be put into the actual version of the game now. Infamous lore book. I wonder if... No, we'll never get that publicized. There's no way they publicize the lore book. They need to release the Hytale files. They really do. Hey, you know what? They actually are releasing the Hytale files. I mean, the cinematic video was like 4 years old, and someone was asking like, why did you release it as 4 years old? And Simon was like, we're releasing the files, baby. The Hytale files are getting exposed, and they're not redacted. Well, actually, the Quetzal was redacted. So, interesting. Very, very interesting. With the highly accelerated timeline to release an early access version of Hytale, it shouldn't come as a surprise that there's been no time put in a grand sweeping narrative. There are no systems in place to support such an endeavor, and there has never been a version of the game that had anything close to a narrative implemented. Even the details of the story have never been truly finalized. Now, I can talk a little about this because it doesn't matter anymore, but with the new engine, there were leaks that I found out that this was the case. So we might have assumed like, okay, you know, they're working on the game, they have the new engine, they have a lot of time to figure out how everything works. They had literally zero idea what the lore is and how they can implement it into the game. So even if the game with the Riot version came out in 3 years, they still would have had zero lore in and had no clue how to even implement the lore, which I thought was kind of scary when I heard that leak. So like there were a few leaks that came out, you know, past 1 or 2 years, and some of them made me think like, what is happening behind the scenes? And I guess we figured out what was happening behind the scenes. It got canceled. So I'm glad we're in the good timeline now. As a result, expect lore and exploration mode to be uncovered almost exclusively through archaeology and discovery, and be relatively light at first. There are certainly secrets to be found throughout the world, and nothing exists without intent. We'll also continue to introduce lore as we update the aspects of the game. Though I've said that there will be no grand narrative, there is a narrative of sorts present. It's one intended for players to piece together as they play through the exploration mode, one that ties in the transition of World Gen V1 and V2. Perhaps the term Cursebreaker will ring some sort of bell. This might be a hot take, but I'm actually glad there's no narrative when Hytale launches at launch. I'm actually really glad, because it gives us, I feel like if there were a lot of lore too, it would kind of overwhelm us. And so now we can just go into the game, not worry that there's lore, maybe find some secret things, but just learn the game, find out about the game, check out the modding stuff, the world tool stuff, the narratives, or not the narrative, the cinematic stuff. And then once we kind of figure out, have our grasp with the game, then they can sprinkle in lore, and then we can get really immersed with it. But I actually like the fact that the first months, maybe, there isn't going to be a lore, and then in the future there's the exploration mode, probably when World Gen V2 comes out. And I think a lot of people made theories about what the Cursebreaker lore is, or what the transition of V1 and V2 is, because Simon says that the Cursebreaker, his goal, his or her goal, will be to restore Orbis, and sounds like V2 is the restoration of Orbis, and this is some sort of old, forgotten, left behind version of Orbis. Just changed the phone wallpaper to my to the Gaia art. I'm gonna need to do that literally the second I stop streaming. Change is never just for the sake of change. As a closing note, I'd like to talk a little bit about change, a reoccurring theme throughout this post. Hytale's lore has always been in a state of flux. In the past, it changed and changed again, sometimes so often that members within the team had different understandings of what was true or not, which is funny because like when I was talking with Oscar about something, I mentioned, I don't know what the specifics thing was, but I was like, yo, Oscar, did you like make this theme because of X mob or X lore reason? And he's like, what is that? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fair is fair. The man cares about the music and not the game. That he like, that this is true, that certain team members just straight up don't know what changed or what happened. Since reacquiring the game, we've made changes too. Something I already mentioned early in the post. Not every change will be popular with everyone, but sometimes those changes are necessary for a variety of reasons, even if it might be hard for some of you. Dude, low key, is this a jab at me because I made that one tweet thread with Simon where I was like, just like, why did you change Borea to Winterfrost? Or not, it's not Winterfrost, it's Whisperfrost Frontiers. Low-key, this might be towards me. Which is funny because like I don't even care anymore, but there's still some people that bring it up that are like, ah yeah, you really don't like that. And that's like, I really don't give a fuck. It's just hard to pronounce sometimes. Frontiers is the new Borea. This is definitely targeted for me. We don't and won't make changes to the lore just for the sake of it. Every change we make is intentionally and thoroughly thought out. Until now, with our early access release date looming, there has never truly been a moment where anyone can definitely say this is canon in Hytale's lore. Some concepts have remained and relatively unchanged, but they weren't really safe. Only you, the players, step into the echoes of Orbis for the first time. Can we finally truly say that Hytale lore has crystallized into canon? Echoes of Orbis, I think is super, super interesting. You didn't just say that. We've heard it before, but I think that is the key word for World Gen V1 and the like older Orbis. We're gonna go into an Echo of Orbis and try to restore it to its full thing, and that is V2. That's my take on the lore. We'll see if that's correct. But yeah, we got the cute goblins, and we saw this goblin art in the summer 24 blog post. Any fact checkers? I think it's summer 24. They're so adorable. I love these little guys. I love them. I love them.